This is Mary here again from Amore Flowers and Bridal. Thank you so much for joining me today. We are going to work on a Valentine's Day favorite, or just any day it would work for somebody to feel special. This one has here one side wet foam, and this one is still foam but it's dry. On this side I would like to put chocolates, and then this side roses. In a previous tutorial, I did do a video on working with soap roses. So that would be flowers that would, last a lot longer than real flowers, but there are some things that real flowers cannot replace. The beautiful red roses. Here we have some medium-sized red roses. I'm just going to be pulling some of the petals off of there and blowing them up a little bit just to prep them. This one we are going to fill up. I want to say it's going to take maybe about 18 roses, but we'll count a mixture because every rose is a little different here. And after that, we'll go ahead and fill up the other side with some chocolate. So I have this box a little tilted here, so that way hopefully that gives you a little better picture on that. I'm going to cut my roses probably, I want to say, about 2.5 inches or so. Okay, my finger is about 3 inches. At the finger line here, the breaks usually is about 1 inch, at least for my sake here. You can always use a ruler and measure just to make sure yours is. So about 2.5 inches here. Okay, 3 inches would be to the bottom where my thumb is here. So I hope that's a little helpful. If not, you can always experiment. We want to make sure we get at least 1 inch into the foam, okay, for it to drink. Since it is with real roses, real flowers, we're not going to make it so that the lid would close on top of it. I'm gonna have to actually replace this a little, reposition this a little bit since it was an angle. Okay. And I'm going to turn this towards me a little bit just to make it a little ease of putting it together so I can see where my half of the line is that I'm working with. And from here on my roses, I'm going to just be snipping them off about 2 inches. Like I said, we can always adjust as we go. Making sure all my petals are perfect worthy. And I don't want to push down from the top of my rose, so I'm going to be pushing it down from the body, making sure it goes down to be about the same level as my other rose and just right next to it. And again, I'm just going through. Be careful not to smash them or squish it too much. Want all the roses about the same size. I know I'm going to need at least a good dozen, so that's why I'm cutting them. So not all roses are going to be created equal. You want to make sure each of them have its own little spotlight. And see which one fits, the best of where you want it to go. bottom. So with the petals that you pulled off, you can always tuck them in to fill in the gaps. It's not all the roses are going to be all opened at once. So there might be some gaps in between, which you can just gently roll and then tuck them in between. And that way it'll help fill it in a little bit more. Again, just roll. And especially works really well with the on the side as well, because we don't want to look into it and then be able to see the inside of the foam. So that's why we're tucking in the petals there. And by the time these petals, since they're not in water, disintegrate, or you know, lifespan ends, these other roses will be blooming, so they will go ahead and take cover at that point. But for the sake of having them in to help fill in the gaps for when the recipient wants to receive them, it works really well. Again, I'm just rolling in the petals that we pulled off earlier. And again, I wouldn't use one that's severely damaged. Something that's kind of nice, but not perfect to be with the blooms earlier. So again, just roll and tuck in. And I'm just gonna put some on the sides. Okay. I think I want to put one more in here on the side here. Now I'm just going to gently blow on it to make sure. So a little gap here too, because we don't want it to any of the mechanics to show. So again, these roses will eventually open up a lot bigger, so they will fill in really nicely. We don't want to have them all open when we use them, since we want the recipient to have this for the longest duration possible. So on this side of the foam here, and we have it exactly the same level as the real roses, we are going to tuck in our Rocher Chocolate. But in this case, I'm not going to directly put it in. We made these little cones to go ahead and add into here. So the way we made these cones, you just need 5x5 squares. And right here we have some 5x5 wax paper, a little bit of tape. I'm going to put aside here. And we're going to make these cones. So what you're going to do is, oops, with the fold over, just so you can have these nice corners that are pretty much even. So you have these two cat ears, and then all you gotta do is find the center, roll it in, and make sure you have this little spike. And we're just simply going to pull about a 1/2 inch piece of tape and tape it to secure. And there you have a little pocket to put our chocolate in. That way we don't need to pin or tape or anything, and the recipient can just simply take the chocolate out and enjoy. Okay, so I counted, I think I need about 18, so I do have about 8 pieces. I'm just going to go ahead and fold and create a few more. So I think I'm going to need about 18 pieces. So make sure we have that little point. Okay, so at this point I can push this in. That's why we need the corner, so that it will sit nicely in there. Again, just like the roses, we're going to go around the perimeter. And I do want to make sure it's pretty secure in there. So these I prepped earlier. And we want to make sure that these are spaced nicely so that there's room for the chocolate. But we also want to make sure, you know, we're not going too far away to leave too much of a gap. And last one here. And here I'm using wax paper that we wrap little bouquets with, cut into 5 by 5 squares. What you can use is, you can use tissue paper, you can use tulle, you can use just about anything. See how it creates that really nice pocket there? Okay, last but not least, we are going to add our chocolates. And 13. 12 would have worked as well, but I think this is good enough here. For this one, we did 13, and I'm just going to tilt this a little bit here to give it a little bit more room. Okay, so there you go. Nice little keepsake. So definitely the lid comes with it. We will just put it right underneath it, and voila. You get the beauty of real roses, fresh roses, plus the chocolate. What can get better than that? Thank you again for joining me. I'll leave the recipe below in the descriptions. Please subscribe if you haven't. Thank you so much again for watching, and I hope to see you in our next video.